Shut up and sit down.
Before we get started, I'd just like to state that the production quality in this video is terrible, and so is the restoration process, if you could even call it that. I forgot to hit the record button and missed out on a lot of footage. I even tried to record at night with my almost decade-old cameras, which resulted in nothing but useless footage, and there was a bunch of other stuff. But at the end of the day, I had fun doing it, so I didn't really care. Since that disclaimer's out of the way, welcome to Richo's very first retro edition, where I kind of muck around with retro stuff. And today we've got a Packard Bell Legend 75. So before I spent the time to try to restore and stuff, I thought I'd boot it up and see if it caught fire or exploded, which it, to my surprise, didn't. It booted fine. It got past the memory test, did all that stuff. But I did run into trouble when I tried to put a 20 gig hard drive in it. For some reason, it doesn't work with the larger storage capacities. But I had a couple of 2-ish gig hard drives laying around, which I threw in and worked just fine. I managed to install MS-DOS 7 and I ad booted just fine, no troubles at all. So I wanted to do a bit of an intro piece with a bit of information and stuff, but I really couldn't find much about it on the internet, even with the model number and stuff. So what I can tell you is it's an Intel Pentium 75MHz processor, which is kind of interesting how low the processing power is, and with the modern stuff that it has. It's got 20 megabytes of RAM, PS2 ports, 3 PCI slots, and 3 ISA slots that are kind of on an expansion board that make them sit vertically rather than horizontally, which is really nice. But in saying that, I haven't really looked up too much, I haven't tried too hard to find information about it. But yeah, this is the part of the video where I would have inserted all the footage of me stripping down the chassis. But me being the fuckhead that I am, I didn't press record. All it was just a matter of pulling off the plastic panels from the front, rear, and top. That was just a matter of like popping clips off and stuff. Nothing exciting. I had to remove the obviously the lights and stuff, and the switch from the front, which is connected to the PSU, which was different. It's just screwed in by 2 screws, and then remove the plate for the motherboard and the bar that ran across the case that supports the expansion slot that holds the PCI slots and the ISA slots. So I did that, gave them a clean, got all the rat shit off, and moved on to the white parts, which was kind of the first cut I was going to do. So I just scrubbed down those and then masked anything that wasn't white or that I wanted to to work. So the front panel lights, the Packard Bell sticker, I didn't bother with the Packard Bell logo. It was just too hard. And masked up all the rubber stops on all the metal pieces too. Also masked the original product stickers that come on the back of it, and masked the IO stickers. So it wasn't an overly hard job, it was just time consuming. A lot of scrubbing and shit. But once that was done, I was pretty ready to paint. At this point, it was about midnight, and I really had a lot of momentum going and a lot of energy, so I wanted to take advantage of it. I'd bought this black rust preventative spray that I was going to use on the chassis, and I gave it a couple of sprays and it stopped. I tried to clear it, didn't work. So I thought, stuff it, I'll spray it blue. And this is the result. I think I came up pretty nicely. So I went to bed, pretty happy with the progress that I made during the day. I moseyed on out to the garage to continue working, only to find that that black spray can had exploded during the night and leaked everywhere. So I seriously contemplated putting this project to the side and starting a new one where I build a cannon to fire this can at the sun so it can die the fiery death that it deserves. After the rage subsided a little bit, I kicked back into the painting and had nothing but trouble since the paint can kept leaking everywhere and it was extremely windy. I managed to get it done and clean it up, but the camera died somewhere through it. I had no idea, so I lost a lot of the footage. But I did get a picture to show the comparison between the painted CD-ROM cover and the side panel that was yellowed. Then painted the stylized trim around the case that's blue, just to match the chassis. I ran out of paint just short of finishing up the stylized piece on the front, but I got it done in the end. Now it's time to put it back together. I started off with the motherboard, reattaching it to the plate that comes out of the chassis, and then I moved on to the 3.5-inch floppy drive. The original one was pretty dirty and stuff, and when I first booted it, it read once and then died. So I took one that I had spare, pulled off the front panel, gave it a spray. I forgot to do the button, the eject button, but it's off colored, but it still worked. It's fine. I slotted that back into the case and then reattached the front panel indicator lights and reset switch. Dropped the motherboard plate back in, screwed it up, and then put in the PSU. Purely because I had to reattach the switch to the front of the case before putting on the front panel. Threw back in the case fan, and then proceeded to put on the front and rear panel. It's all snap lock stuff, and there's 2 screws on the front panel, and that was it. It was extremely easy to do. Next was the expansion slot. Just to slot that in and then reattach the support bar. The support bar just acts as something you can push against when you're inserting the other cards. So it came with a Packard Bell sound card, an ISA one, and an ISA modem, which I wasn't going to put back in, but I didn't have enough of the slot covers to fill the case up. I popped on the top cover, and it was kind of hard to get back on. It just wouldn't align properly, but just a heavy-handed slap here and there, and she popped on just fine. It was good as gold. I threw a DVD-ROM into this one just because the DVDs hold more storage than the 2 hard drives that I'm putting in. It just makes things easier, plus they're more regularly available. And then I just inserted the 2 hard drives, and she was ready to go, ready for post.
Shut up and sit down.
I booted it up and installed it at post. At first, I initially thought it was the same problem I ran into at the start with the hard drives. Turns out it was the sound card. So I then swapped it out for a PCI sound card, which is a Trident 40 Wave, and it booted fine after that. Second time around, it posted just fine, passed all the memory test, showed both the hard drives and the CD-ROM, and then continued to boot into MS-DOS. Once I got to the C prompt, I thought I'd check if I could access the hard drives. Check the C drive just fine, stuff on there. Check the D drive, couldn't access it. So firstly I checked to see if the partition was actually there through FDisk, and then to make sure it was active, and then formatted it. The formatting process took forever. The footage here is at 1000%, so you can see how long that's taken. And then at 66%, I hit the problem of trying to recover allocation units, and this is generally a sign of the hard drive failing. So I'm probably not going to get too much use out of these hard drives, but it did manage to complete after several hours. But thought I'd try to copy something to it just to make sure that it does read and write fine, and it did. Me being the person I am, I tried to run WinRAR in DOS, and it's a Windows program, which I had forgotten. Pretty much sums up the build. I'm very much aware that this video reeks of poor quality and low production value, from the blurry footage at the start that makes you think you've got early onset cataracts, to the inconsistent lighting, to my piss poor attempt at narration, which is just me stumbling over my words. I had a lot of fun doing it, and I'd like to do a few more projects. I've got a few that I could possibly do, and maybe even jump into like game reviews or something like that on the Amiga or these DOS PCs. If you liked it, feel free to subscribe or even hit the like button, or leave constructive criticism in the comments, or criticism in general. I don't really mind. But if you've made it this far, I really appreciate it, and thanks for watching.